Ford for decades has been legendary with their trucks, namely the F-Series, which has been the best-selling pickup in America for like 60 plus years. And there's a reason for that. They are really good trucks. But Ford hasn't always had the best track record when it comes to their cars. Now, this isn't a car, I know, but it's the closest thing Ford has to a car anymore outside of the Mustang. A few years back, they actually got rid of all their sedans, coupes, anything of that matter, and they went to the crossover or the SUV, which is very popular in America. So it all made sense, and that meant the Escape got more car-like with every passing generation, turned a little bit more into the family sedan. It's got the more rounded, curving looks, and if you want some more toughness, there's another offering on this platform, the Bronco Sport, which is actually quite a bit more expensive. So this is basically Ford's entry-level vehicle now. This is a nicely equipped one. It's a 2021. It's the second year of this generation. It's an SEL, so it's kind of right in that sweet spot in the middle. It does have the base engine, just a tiny little 1.5 liter, 3-cylinder turbocharged EcoBoost engine, but it does have niceties like Ford's leather, I'll get into that in a little bit, and a panoramic moonroof, Apple CarPlay, heated seats, some nice little luxuries, but not too over the top. I thought it'd be interesting to see how these cars are holding up now that they've been around for a couple of years. This one just crossed 50,000 miles. Let's have a look and see how it's held up. I should also note that this is a rental car and has been its whole life, so that is important to consider in this, but I think it's actually to our advantage because people treat rental cars a lot harder than the average person, so any problems you see on this are probably gonna be a lot more exaggerated than someone who dailies a Ford Escape like this. Starting outside, it looks really good. I mean, I don't see anything to be too concerned about here. The wheels, you know, people can't park, especially tourists that aren't used to city streets. This is in Los Angeles, so lots of parallel parking. They don't jut out past the bead of the tire, so they've held up amazingly well. This is the passenger side where you would most likely hit the curb, and both of them look really, really good. The only thing I thought might be a little bit concerning is this chrome trim that is around the windows. I noticed, if you look around it, there's little dents all over it. So I thought maybe it's just some cheap plasticky metal that easily dents. Quite a few over here, actually. And I don't know, maybe that's not the issue though, because if you go to the passenger side, it's held up very well. I don't even find one little dent like that, so something must have happened on the driver's side. Other than that, this car still looks very, very good. Basically brand new, especially considering that the new ones look almost exactly the same. So no drama outside. Let's go inside and have a look. You hear that noise? That brings me to the first problem before I even step foot in the car. Let me give you a better look at what's going on. The door's nice and quiet until you open it all the way. Now, the source of that noise is coming from this. That's called the door check bracket. And what it's doing is it's actually pulling itself off the door. I noticed it immediately when I got the car, and coincidentally this week, a recall has just been issued on this problem. Many people have actually been injured because their door fell off while driving. It affects over 300,000 2020 and 2021 Ford Escapes. So the good news is, hopefully, Ford will be able to fix this for you for free before you have a doorless Jeep-style vehicle. Now, bear in mind, I'm still not even in the car yet, and I found another problem. Before you step foot in there, it looks like a foot did some damage here. Pulled the carpet right out from behind this piece of trim. Now, it's all the way up to the top. I thought maybe, you know, rental car, people are just tough on it. But then I hopped over to the passenger side and what do you know? Same problem over here. It's come untucked from this piece of plastic trim here. It's not glued in very well. Whatever glue that they used did not hold. So I went online and it looks like a lot of people have had the same problem. And not only just the Escape, also some of the cars like the Focus and the EcoSport. And the solution is hot glue or command strips. Easy enough fix, but it looks really trashy if it's hanging out like that. The next issue I found is the center shift dial. Now, this won't be a rant about how much I don't like center shift dials. And it is true, these are pretty terrible. No, it's a wear and tear issue. Look at how foggy this is. I'll go from different angles so you can kind of see. I think this is due to the rental car company cleaning it a lot and putting harsh chemicals on it. It just kind of fogged it over. So it's still perfectly functional. It just doesn't look that great. I thought maybe you could replace this top plastic piece with the shift selector, but I can't seem to find it online. I did find the little ring around here for a few bucks, but if you want to replace this to make it look like brand new, it's going to cost you about $100 for the whole housing. Let's get to the fun stuff. Let's talk about the infotainment system. It does have Ford Sync 3, which features Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. To enable that, though, you do have to plug in your phone via USB. Down below, there is a regular USB and a USB-C port. Either of them will work with CarPlay when they actually function. Here is a USB cable I will plug in right now. This cable does work. I have verified and tested it. This is my backup iPhone. Let's plug it in. And nothing. Nothing at all. As you can see, it's not charging or anything. I thought it might be a fuse, but I happen to have a USB-C cable as well. I plugged that in. We'll replace that on the phone. And voila! It is now charging and about to run CarPlay. And I looked up the fuse panel in the Escape. The fuse for this is actually under the hood, but this panel, both the USB-C and the regular USB, share a fuse, so that is not the problem. I tried like 3 different USB cables. I couldn't get it to work. So worst comes to worst, you could use a USB-C, or let's say the USB-C goes out, you could use a regular USB in its place, but then you're only going to have one phone to charge, because inside there is not another port. I think there might be some in higher models, but not in this one. So I guess your backup solution, just get a little cheapy USB charger that goes into the cigarette lighter. Beyond that, I have to say that the interior has held up very well. I had made reference to it earlier. Ford's leather is actually not leather at all. In fact, it's not an animal product, and it's made of nothing organic. It's made out of recycled plastic bottles, which I can dig. It actually feels really good, and these are actually really comfortable seats. It's called Ford's Active X material, and they claim it's tougher than leather, and I believe it, because think of how many people have driven this car. Over 50,000 miles now. I can't find one wear mark at all, and you don't need to regularly condition this like leather either. You can, but it is not recommended that you need to do it every so often like you do with actual leather. All the other materials, even the steering wheel, I think this might be that Active X material as well. Holding up pretty well. A little bit of discoloration, but that's to be expected, especially in a hot climate here like Los Angeles. People's sweaty hands all over that. Door panels look good. They've held up very well. Even the back ones, which are made of a lesser, harder material, all looks good. And these back seats look just as good as the front seats, like brand new. So while the interior seems bolted together well, held tight, very little squeaks and rattles, I can't say the same for the suspension. So let's take this thing for a little drive. I think this is a good road to test it on. Now, I previously had a Ford C-Max I did a video on with this, and that thing clunked and rattled all over the place. I'm starting to see the first signs here, too. Not sure how well that picks up on the video, but just the slightest sense that things are starting to come loose. A little bit concerning for a car with 50,000 miles. Let's hit one more here and see if it comes through. So I can actually feel a little bit of a rattle underneath my feet, which is a little bit unsettling. So in terms of the suspension, you might have some issues down the road like I had with my previous Ford. And another issue I had with my Ford, it was a C-Max, so it did have a CVT transmission. Now, thankfully, outside of the hybrids, Ford has gotten rid of all their CVT transmissions. This car actually features an 8-speed transmission, but it's starting to slip. I can tell in the lower speeds, especially when you're going uphill. I'm actually going to turn around here and we'll go back on that road so we can go uphill. In the lower speeds, it's a little bit jerky. And that turbo on the EcoBoost has a little bit of a whine to it. Now, this is the first one I've ever drove of these. It could have been doing that since brand new. I'm not entirely sure. But I would have thought they would have tried to silence that a little bit more on that kind of car like this. The transmission just has trouble finding its gear and is slipping and jerking just a little bit. It's most likely those first couple gears, because once you get up to speed a little bit faster, it does act a lot smoother. Still cause for concern because at least when I had my CVT go out, Ford actually honored it with a 100,000 mile warranty, and it happened at 99,000 miles. So they did fix it for free. Unfortunately on this, once you're outside of the 3-year 36 warranty, you're on your own. You can really hear that turbo starting to stress up this hill, and the transmission is really having trouble finding which gear to jump into. Well, I hope that gave you some insights on what to expect if you have a newer Ford Escape, what you may run into down the road. Or if you don't have one yet and you've been cross-shopping these, you might want to avoid it. Ford's quality issues have been really concerning for years and years and years. Now, their new CEO, Jim Farley, seems like a really cool guy, but it's all the same talk. He says, we're gonna get better, we're gonna make better quality products. But they never actually get to that point. They just say, we're gonna do that next, we're gonna do that next. I think we have an instance of the same old Ford being Ford. They really care about their F-Series, that is the moneymaker, and the Mustang is kind of their halo car. Those are two good products. The rest are kind of afterthoughts in the Ford department. If you really need to be brand loyal to Ford, maybe pick up a previous generation Explorer. I think I like that actually better than the current generation Explorer, and you're gonna save a little bit of money, and it's gonna be closer to your budget of the Escape. If you don't care what brand you're in, but you want a great car in this segment, I'm a little partial to my daily driver, the Mazda CX-5. I'll put a link to the video of mine in there. I love that car, and I think it's better in basically every category compared to the Escape. So make sure to check out this CX-5 as well. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a subscribe, a like, comment, share, whatever you want to do. It's amazing. I appreciate it. I will see you on the next video.